Every day I wake up and feel like time is slipping away, like I'm stuck where I am and I'm not where I want to be. I set high expectations for myself when I was younger, but now I'm not as young as I once was. So the pressures of becoming successful have been weighing me down, and it feels like the weight of the world because I know that I was made for more than this.
25 living my quarter life crisis, posting on socials, but I'm living life private.
I didn't even know what a quarter life crisis was until I heard this song by Eric Evie whenever I was 23 years old. At first, I thought it was something that he just made up, but now, at 25 years old, I completely understand what it means. It's this strange, unsettling feeling where everything you thought you would have by now, success, purpose, maybe even happiness, feels like it's out of reach. Things have changed so much in our world over the last few decades, and now it feels like we're all chasing something that we can't even define. We don't even know what it is. I was born in 1999, so I fall in the Gen Z category, and now I realize that the Gen Z quarter life crisis is way worse than I ever imagined. Statistically speaking, over 60% of young adults between their 20s and early 30s report feeling lost, anxious, and unsure about their life decisions and their future. We're stuck in a generation where comparison is king. Social media makes it feel like everyone else has it all figured out. You scroll through Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and you see people younger than you living out your dream life, making more money than you, and being more successful. And here you are, stuck. It's hard not to feel inadequate, and it gives you low self-esteem while also making you feel like your future isn't going to be as bright as you thought it was. I saw another statistic that said 50% of Gen Z wants to be a content creator, and honestly, I totally get it. The idea of making a living doing something that you love is way better than slaving away for someone else's dream. I've always wanted to be a content creator, even before I even knew what that meant, but deep down it's not just about being a famous content creator. It's this idea of living life on your own terms, not stuck in a corporate grind. It's really about freedom. At least 50% of people in the workforce are already quiet quitting. They're clocking in because they have to, not because they want to. I don't want that to be my life, and I'm guessing that you don't either. Companies are going to have to start fighting harder to keep their employees engaged in their work, because people these days would rather take a pay cut to work a job that they actually love versus making a higher salary but being miserable at the same time. That's why I would rather be an entrepreneur or a content creator, even though success isn't guaranteed. I've had like 7 different callings in my life. I'm literally like Trish from Austin and Ally.
Guess who got a job at It's a Racket? Guess who got a job at Cheese Out of My League?
At one point, I wanted to be a recording artist like Russ, super independent, doing things my own way. And I tried that for a while, but ADHD, lack of focus, and honestly, just not trying hard enough held me back from reaching my full potential. Always wanna go where I can't be, and damn, it's hard to trust what I can't see. I've been going through it as of lately. Sometimes I'm mad at God 'cause he made me. During all of this, I was working as a server. I worked at places like Chili's and Texas Roadhouse, and honestly, I got really good at it. Taking care of customers and providing excellent customer service was really fun to me. Eventually, I started dreaming about working on a cruise ship, living a nomadic lifestyle while serving and meeting people from all over the world. I even got a job offer, but unfortunately, I ended up failing the drug test. I quit smoking weed whenever I applied for the job after I read that they do drug test, but I guess 2 weeks wasn't enough to get the THC out of my system. That honestly crushed me for a while, but I still haven't given up on that dream. Then I went through a zookeeper phase. I've always loved animals, so I got a job at my local zoo, and it was everything that I ever imagined. But still, something was missing. I couldn't shake this feeling that I was meant for more, whether that was content creation, music, or something else. But full transparency, during this time, I was spending way too many nights wasting all my money at the bars, distracting myself from my real goals. Maybe that's why I was feeling lost during this time. Looking back, I wish I could grab my younger self and say, dude, you're wasting time. But here's the thing, even though I can't go back and change it, I can change where I'm heading now. I realize that I don't have to give up on my dreams, like working on a cruise ship, being a zookeeper, or making content. I just have to accept that they might not happen exactly the way that I initially planned for them to. But that doesn't mean that they won't happen. It might not feel like it, but we are still so young. 25 years from now, if we're still alive, we're gonna look back and think about how young we were back then and how we had so much time. That time is right now, literally right now. You're watching this video because you feel somewhat lost and dissatisfied with your life, and you feel like you're going through a quarter life crisis, and that's completely understandable. But don't let that be how you feel 25 years down the road, going through a midlife crisis. Start taking control of your life by taking action. So what can you do if you feel like you're stuck in a quarter life crisis? If you're like me and you love adventure and you love the idea of traveling, maybe a change of scenery is exactly what you need. Although I know not everybody has the ability to, and I myself still haven't traveled as much as I want to, but if you do have the opportunity, then take it. And if money is the issue, and if that's what's stopping you from traveling, then I highly recommend that you start looking into things like seasonal jobs, working on cruise ships or working at resorts where you get to actually stay at the resort while working and saving money. It's a pretty good option for somebody who doesn't have very many responsibilities and wants to travel the world. Another thing you can do is start practicing the art of minimalism. Maybe it's time to start letting go of some of the things that you've been hoarding, whether it's physical, digital, or even spiritual. Stop accumulating things that just tie you down and give yourself room to breathe whenever you meditate. Because yes, you should be meditating, especially during a time like this. You won't discover your purpose overnight, but if you dedicate time to just simply sit there and breathe, you'll end up learning things about yourself that you weren't aware of before. Comparison is killer during this time, and you might think that other people have more advantages over you, but you might not be aware of the fact that everybody has their own unique, unfair advantages. Your story is unique and there's none other like it. That's your unfair advantage. For example, I grew up in a small town, so I'm able to capture amazing shots of the sunset with no buildings in the background. Another example is my history of job hopping. I have a lot of job experience, so I'm able to talk about that in my videos. These are both things that I originally hated about myself. I hated the fact that I lived in a small town, and I hated the fact that I just couldn't ever hold a job. But now I see them as my unfair advantages. You might look at your current situation and wish it was different, but you need to learn to accept it and actually embrace it. Because the reality is, you are in that situation. It doesn't have to stay that way forever, but it does give you experience and something that you can use to your advantage in the future. The most important thing is you can't sit around and wait for something to happen in your life. You have to take steps towards your goals. And yeah, you're gonna fail sometimes, maybe even a lot of times, but each step you take brings you closer and closer. You're not where you want to be because you haven't put in the time or the effort yet, and you haven't given yourself enough data for you to analyze. As a content creator, you can't just post a couple videos, stare at the numbers, and give up whenever nothing happens. That's called analysis paralysis, and this can happen to anybody, whether you're a content creator or not. You work on something for like a week, like working out or whatever it is, you don't see any results, so you stop. But real growth comes from consistent action. You have to keep creating, keep learning, and stop focusing so much on the immediate results. Every time you see someone who's successful, you only see the tip of the iceberg. Success takes time, dedication, and consistency. But the beautiful part is you don't have to do it alone. The internet is full of knowledge. There's so many books you can read and so many videos you can read on the thing that you're trying to do. You can study people who are already doing what you want to do. This is called information synthesis. It's like taking thousands of years of human history and putting it all into one book. The information is out there. You just have to be willing to absorb it and apply it. Here's a metaphor that I absolutely love. Think of water. When it's stagnant, it becomes murky, gross, and full of bacteria. But when water is constantly flowing, it stays clear and pure. Now think about this. Humans are 70% water, right? So whenever we stay stagnant, whenever we're not growing and when we're not moving forward, that toxicity can build up inside of us as well, like depression, anxiety, and insecurity, sometimes even anger. But if we're constantly moving, learning, and pushing forward, it's a lot harder for that negativity to build up inside of you. You become a healthier and more pure version of yourself.
Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Now, I totally understand that the world we're living in is absolutely insane. War, politics, and all the constant distractions on social media. It's so easy to feel lost. It's easy to get sucked into the chaos and just forget about your purpose. But deep down, we all know that we're made for more. And if you're anything like me, you're always inspired by other people's stories, and sometimes even fictional characters as well, like superheroes or anime characters, who go through insane challenges and they always come out the other side way stronger. Following superheroes and anime characters might be a little bit delusional, but honestly, we need to romanticize romanticize our lives just a little bit. We may as well add some magic and some flair to the way that we do things in this life, because this life can be super mundane, and that just further increases your dissatisfaction with life. Whenever we approach life with passion and energy, we inspire others, and sometimes we even inspire ourselves. Don't be afraid to push forward, even when it feels like the world is falling apart. You still have time, and honestly, at the end of the day, we're all gonna die, and we're literally living on a floating rock flying through space at 1,000,000 miles per hour, and we have no control over any of that. There's so much more to life than just having a good career and being successful. The pressures of society just makes you forget about that. Take some time to be grateful for the little things. And maybe even tell someone today that you appreciate them, because life is too short to stress yourself out over things that are actually just temporary. You do need to take your goals seriously, but just remember to always keep your eyes open. My name is Daniel, and I'm here to remind you that no matter how crazy things get, I promise that you're going to be okay. Have a blessed day.
25 living my quarter life crisis. Posting on socials, but I'm living life private. Walk along the beach, along the coast when the tide's in. Hold myself accountable.